Action!
Stop.
Okay.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my page. And this is the page for building the car, the Tyrrell 018, the 1989 version. And we're going to get into building it in a few minutes. But first, I just want to take a moment to show you some of the tools and stuff that I use for model making and building. These are tools that are pretty much required to build any kind of model. And it's like anything else, you know, with the right tools, the right job. The poor tools, the poorer job. So these are several of the tools and equipment that I've acquired over the years. They're pretty cheap and you can find them pretty much anywhere at your local hobby store or your local craft store, or a lot of this stuff is also available on Amazon. So over the years and over time, I did acquire a lot of these tools and they help. They're small tools, they're precision tools. It's good to work with these small tools if you're going to build a model to this size, because this model is very delicate. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick tour of some of the tools that I use. These are actually most of the tools. So let me start. There's no particular order here. As you see, I've laid a bunch of stuff out on the table here. In no particular order. I'm going to start with this guy here. What these are tiny little files. These are good for filing metal pieces. They're small, very, very small. You can get files a bunch of different sizes. So here, I think I bought a set. I forget how much this was. I think this was maybe about $7 or $8. I think there's about 8 or 9 of them in here, and you get to choose which kind of grade of a file you want. Some of them are curved, some of them are round, some of them are straight. These are very helpful if you have to shave down some parts or make something, you know, especially for metal, because the car that we're making is made out of metal. So those are the files. Obviously, in this little cup here, I have knives. These are X-Acto knives with some spare blades inside, obviously to cut. These are good to work with, fine precision. In this little cup here, I have some glue. Now these are glue. This is glue for plastic. This car is not really going to be any plastic. We're probably not going to use much of this. I'm going to show you the other glues in a minute. This is good. This is some putty. This is some plastic putty. If you need to fill in any cracks or holes, or you break something, usually you can put some of this on top, this putty on top, and then you can sand it down and make it. And then when you paint it, it's going to look like there's nothing. So that's some putty. And in this little jar here, these are good. I have little tweezers. You know, these you can find anywhere. These I think you can even find at a pharmacy or something. You know, some tweezers to hold the parts. It's good if you're gluing parts together, or if you have to work with small parts. You know, sometimes you get to glue it, you get to paint it, do whatever. Here's some eyedroppers if you have any kind of liquid that you need to add or mix or something like that. This is good to absorb some liquid and then drip it. Here's some nail cutters. Sometimes these are good to snip off parts or long parts or whatever. I like these. These are really, really good. So that's just in there. These are also good to hold. These are, I forget the name of them, hemostats or something like that. These are basically what dental surgeons use, dental or medical surgeons use. So they clip on the end. You can clip a part on the end and then lock it, you know, and it's good. They'll hold just about anything. These are good. So I have a couple of pairs of these. These are really, really good. Then, I mean, the obvious thing in this container, obviously a huge assortment of paintbrushes. You know, you're going to need paintbrushes, obviously, when we start painting the finer parts of the car, the smaller parts. There's quite a few. I've acquired a bunch of different paintbrushes over the years. And these, in this cup, these are really cool. These are something that I ordered online. These are called alligator clips, and they come on a stick, on a little pole. And I have a base somewhere. I don't have it here with me, but what you can do is, once you're finished, the whole idea is to set set the stick inside one of the holes, and it's a holder. And what this does is you can, I'm not going to go into a part here, but basically what this is, these things are perfect for painting. You would clip your part inside here, and then you can hold the long stick like this. And it's good for painting, for spraying, for sanding, for doing whatever. So what I would do is I would paint the parts, and then I would set them in the holder to dry. This way you don't have to touch anything and get your hands all dirty and stuff. So these are really, really good. I like this purchase. This was one of my favorite things, and it's so useful when you're working with small parts like this. I think these clips, if I'm not mistaken, I think I bought a bag of these for like $2 or $3. I think it was on Amazon, and they send you the bag, and then in here, this stick, this part of this is like a bamboo skewer, if you want, for barbecuing or something, and then I just cut it off and I attached the end of the clip, and I kind of made my own. And again, I think I paid about $2 or $3 for a bag, and I think there's about 100 of them inside the bag. So I kind of made my own, and then I'll put the part, and then I'll paint it and stick it in the stand. These are really useful when you're working with really small precision parts. So those are the clips, one of my favorite things. Then we'll go into, what else do we have here? Okay, we have the glue. Now in here is the glue that we're going to use to build this car. There's two types of glue for this kind of job. This is epoxy glue. I'm not going to go into the details of glue. There's plenty of information online through YouTube, and just Google epoxy glue, their uses and stuff like that. Again, it's complicated, but I've done a lot of research as to the different types of glues to use, the best glues to use for this kind of car. And I have epoxy that sets in 15 minutes. This is a 2-part chemical epoxy that you mix the hardener, the box, you mix the hardener and the resin. You can mix it together and then apply it to the part, and it'll dry in about 15 minutes. It's a very strong glue. I've used it on my other cars. It works well. But in all reality, I prefer this. This is the famous, I think I kind of described this in my last video or whatever, but this is CA glue. This is really, really strong stuff. CA glue will actually bond your skin together. So you got to be really careful. Once you glue the parts together, especially the metal parts, if they're cleaned properly and stuff, you're not going to break them apart. It's very good. It's called CA glue. There's a chemical name for it. I'm not really sure, but whatever. So this is the glue that we're actually going to use to bond the parts together. Again, there's different kinds of CA glue. There's some that's set in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, half an hour. I prefer using the half an hour to 45-minute glue. It gives you time to work with. There are accelerators that you can spray, and it's going to make the glue get hard really fast. I have some, but I don't really like working with it. I prefer just to glue the parts together and leave them together for about 45 minutes until they set and not touch them. So this is actually the glue that we're going to use to build the car. We're going to move on to a couple of other things here, just fast. Q-tips, these help really in the procedure, I find, when you're putting on the stickers and the decals of the car. You can take out the water and push them down very, very lightly, rub them very slowly. Q-tips are very, very useful for this kind of thing. Of course, I have my tape. You're going to need tape. They sell special tape to tape around the car if you're painting, holding something together, holding glue that you don't want to sit there and keep it together with your fingers. I have some different kinds of tape. This is an airbrush, obviously. I think a lot of people, experienced model builders, will recognize what this is. This is an airbrush. This is my airbrush that I use to spray and paint the car. The airbrush, this is a good quality airbrush. So basically with this airbrush, what you'll do over here, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have my compressor. These things work, the airbrush works with a compressor that you would plug into the wall, and there's a little hose here that attaches to the airbrush. And what it's going to do is it's going to pump air into the airbrush and allow you to draw the paint from this jar. Compressor too. If you guys don't want to go out and spend the money on a compressor, because the compressor I think is pretty expensive. I think I paid around $250 for this. It gets pricey, it gets expensive. if you're gonna get into model building on a regular basis and make this your real true hobby, I recommend to get one. If you're gonna do a one-time thing, what they do is they do sell cans of compressed air. It's a giant size, basically a spray paint can, but inside is air. And you can spray, you can just connect your hose to the can, and it's good for a one-time thing, for a one-time model. So you don't have to get the compressor. You can get a can of air and it'll do the same function, the same job. If you don't want to invest in an airbrush, but I recommend that you do, because airbrushing is great. You have to learn how to do it. It takes time, it takes practice. You have to play around a lot to learn how to use an airbrush properly. But if you don't want to paint your car or your models using an airbrush, you can always go to spray paint in a can, spray paint cans. These also work very well. I use the product from Tamiya. I use Tamiya paints for the majority of my models. They're well known, very reputable. Just to show you guys fast, this is a semi-gloss black that I'm going to use quite a bit on my car. A lot of the parts are going to be black. You can get everything. You can get semi-gloss. Here's a metal primer. It's a coating that you put on the metal before you start anything. Here I have a clear coat. This is a semi-gloss clear that you would spray on after the paint is done, after the colors are done. Another primer and another primer. So Tamiya has a huge line of paints and products and cans. If you're not going to invest in the airbrush, it's fine. You can always spray paint your car with cans. It's a little bit more expensive because you're buying a lot more. I think a can here of Tamiya spray paint, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we sell it. I think I got these for about $10 each. It's pretty pricey, and you can imagine, if you need like 4 or 5 cans per model, it would cost you $50. But in the end, you make the investment for an airbrush. I think it kind of speaks for itself. Here's the color of the car, and also Tamiya sells these little bottles of paint. What I'm going to use these bottles, these small bottles, for precision painting of the car. Tiny little parts and pieces. I have a selection of colors. These are acrylic paints in the little bottles. These are the ones I'm gonna use the small parts. I'm gonna paint the small parts with these. Toothpicks are very, very useful when you get into stuff like this. Just like the alligator clips, these things, I find that toothpicks are very useful to use. It's almost like an essential tool for me. What I do is, if I have to mix my epoxy glue, I'll put some hardener and then some resin, and I'll just mix it with a Q-tip, or with a toothpick, I'm sorry. I'll just mix it up with a toothpick, and then what I'll do is, I'll just apply the glue with a toothpick. I find, again, they're good for applying little glues, they're good for scratching, they're good for holding little parts as well, because these two will fit in my stand, which I don't have. So I use these quite often. Here's a couple of products I also love. This is lighter fluid. Lighter fluid is great for cleaning glue. After you peel off some tape from your car or your piece or whatever, your model, it's gonna leave some glue behind. All you need to do, take a Q-tip with some lighter fluid and just lightly brush it, and your glue is gonna come off. These are something I bought online. This is called Microsol, Micro Flat, and Liquid Decal Film. These are from a company, I believe they're called Microscale. These are really essential and useful when we start applying the stickers to the car. I have little bottles here of some Varsol to clean, some paint. I have some of my accelerant. This is accelerant for my CA glue, which I'm not going to get into right now. I don't really use it. Varsol, acetone. I have little cleaning products here in tiny little bottles that I can, if you ever need to use any of these to mix or something with a fine tip, you just drop inside. This is the other essential thing I want to get into. This would be right up there with the alligator clips and the toothpicks. What this is called This is called a pin vise. Basically what a pin vise is, this is a handheld drill. Basically what this does is this makes little holes in, just by turning. Basically what you would do, I'm not going to drill my table, but you would just use it to make bigger holes. You know, you put your drill here, and then you just kind of turn it with your hand, and it's going to make little holes. It helps with the assembly of the model. You're going to see me using this quite a bit, because once the model is painted and I want to start putting together with glue, I'm going to need a variety of little drill bit sizes, but more we're going to use this when I have to make some holes bigger, because paint and primers and stuff, they cover up the holes, and you want to re-drill those holes to make assembly a lot faster and a lot easier. This is also good. This is just regular. These are little coffee stirrers, and I use these a lot to mix my paint. You know, if you have a jar of paint, you know, break these in half and just stir. These are also, you can even use these to applicators, such as glues and everything like that. There's about 3 or 4 different types of sandpaper here. I use one that's a 320 grit grade. It's a little bit more coarse. When I go into here's 220. That's even more rough than the 320. But these are the two I think I like working with the most. I have a 400 grade and I have a 600 grade. These are the two that I'm going to use. I'm going to sand the car and between coats of paint with 400 or 600 to get a really nice finish. So that's it. Just to show you guys a few of the stuff, some of the stuff that I use. Once again, these are things that I've acquired over the years. If you're going to do a one-time model, you don't have to go out and buy these things. You can improvise somehow. So that's it, guys. That's it for the tools. I'll be back in the next video, and we're going to start to build the car. Okay? Thanks for watching.